What's up, guys? It's midweek on Arkansas week, but we have also reached the midway point of the season, so we're going to kind of do a review of where we're at as a team before we preview the Arkansas game. I just kind of want to let you guys know what to expect moving forward as I've just completed watching the Georgia tape. A lot of people think our defense has improved drastically, but it's really not the case. We're still missing a lot of assignments. We ultimately just got lucky that Georgia has no quarterbacks. There's a lot of busted coverages that a great quarterback or even a good quarterback such as Matt Corral or almost every other quarterback in the league would have taken advantage of. Luckily, we don't really face too many of those quarterbacks moving forward. LSU could be an issue. Um, so I'm just still encouraging you Gator fans to stay humble after that big win. It's all kind of smoke and mirrors. Florida's defense isn't the best, although we have improved tremendously since week one. We still have a little bit of trouble in the zone coverage, especially at the linebacker spot. They're not really where they should be, I guess. We're not going to look at too much film on this channel, because, at least until I get some better equipment, but I've done that for you so that you don't have to. Also, I want to address Marco Wilson. I don't know what's the issue with him. He had a great freshman year. Then he got hurt, and I just don't think he's been the same player. His technique's just off. He's getting burnt deep. That's not a good look. Maybe we should send a message his way and let some of these young guys start with the easier part of the schedule, so to speak, coming up. I think these young guys, this would be a perfect opportunity for them to earn their playing time, get some PT, and ready them up for next year. I don't know what we're going to do with Marco, man. Do you keep him in there? You can't. His brother played so great for Florida. It's just, what do you do with the guy? You can't tell him to transfer. You can't bench him. I don't know. Whatever you do, it's wrong. It's just a bad situation. I would like to hope that he can improve. It should be fixable things such as technique. Just go back to basics. The whole defense needs to go back to basics, especially the linebackers in zone coverage. Stetson Bennett had trouble finding his receivers. We also got lucky that he likes to stare down the same receiver every play. He very rarely moves through his progressions. If he was a quarterback that liked to make his reads and scan the field from left to right, he would have seen wide open guys like I just did on the tape a fair amount throughout the game. Definitely more than 2 touchdowns worth. If you ask me, that's really the only position Georgia lacks in. They're a great team with horrible quarterback play. With a good quarterback, Georgia would definitely be a college football playoff team. With that being said, there are some good takeaways from the game. The defensive line improved, especially defending the run. I feel much better about defending the run this week now as I did prior to the Georgia game. Georgia has a hell of a running game. They took advantage of some miscommunication on the first play of the game, and if you take that play out of the equation, they really didn't run the ball that impressively on us, so I'm very proud of those guys. We're getting the numbers right in the box, matching them pound for pound, and hopefully we keep that a trend. That's a positive note moving forward. Let's see, what else did I have in here? I really like Trevez Johnson's play. He made a few rookie mistakes. He is a freshman, but he is going to be a great ball player for us moving forward. I really like him and Brad Stewart in that star position, kind of alternating and keeping fresh legs at all times. That is a bright spot as well. We played a lot of cover one man in this game. Still some busted coverages in the secondary. Like I said, a lot of that is our linebackers. Sometimes not even knowing who to cover. But Stetson Bennett just wasn't able to find them, luckily for us. But for the most part, I think Todd Grantham did a great job with his schemes. He knew that Stetson Bennett liked to stare at one receiver, so we threw a lot of zone at him as well. Because in zone coverage, you don't really get away with staring at the same guy the whole time. Let's see. Christian Robinson really, in my opinion, might be showing his youth as a coach because these are the same mistakes we've been making since day one, and they're not really getting any better. That's one thing that must improve moving forward. If we have any hopes at all of not slipping up later this year and any hopes at all of beating Alabama, Tennessee could be a tough game. We still have LSU at the end of the year who has a potent offense. They could straight pick us apart if we're not careful. If we go into that SEC championship game with 2 losses, even if we did beat Georgia, it would be Alabama, it would be very hard for us to sneak in. Offensively, there wasn't too much of note worth talking about. It was pretty much the same old offense for Florida. However, a couple things I did notice. We did show our inexperience at the wide receiver 2 spot with Henderson kind of running his defender right into the play, causing an interception. Also, Trask kind of threw a couple that were on him right at the defense at one critical point in the game. It could have been a pick 6 and brought Georgia in within 1 score in the 4th quarter. That wouldn't have been bad, but that kind of just goes with the territory of the kind of offense we run. We're so aggressive that kind of stuff just tends to happen. That's why our defense needs to stay on top of things and continue to get stops. We only allowed, I think, 2 third down conversions. That part was very good. And another thing on offense, you got to feel really good about the tight end position after Pitts leaves. Gamble looked good, so did Keon Zipperer. They are no Pitts, but they are very serviceable and good targets. They're not super freaky athletic like Pitts. They're not gonna jump 6 feet in the air and catch a ball over your head, but they got hands and they have size. Actually, might be better on the run blocking end than Pitts is, and that could play a factor into the run game next season. Won't get too much into that, but next season I think we're going to be very much run-oriented compared to this year's team. You're going to have young quarterbacks and Emory Jones competing for the starting job, and let's face it, Emory is no Kyle Trask when it comes to throwing the football. I don't even think he's close. It's going to be a lot of RPOs and stuff like that. But that's pretty much it for the offensive side of the ball. All right, guys, let's talk Arkansas for a minute. This is a game that could get postponed, or should say canceled, because of the hurricane or tropical depression coming into the Gulf of Mexico. I say canceled because there really isn't another spot or another slot you could fit this game into that I'm aware of. We've pretty much exhausted our rescheduling of games and options. But this game has a big storyline to it. Felipe Franks returns to the Swamp, and a lot of Gator fans know him very well, but not in that great of a way. It seems like to me, or at least it seems like an average day for Franks on a Saturday when he was a Gator would be like 189 yards passing and 1 TD to 1 interception. But this is a different Franks this year than we have seen in years past. We've seen improvement from him last year, but he really has come along. And don't forget, he has the threat of the run game as well. He has a set of legs on him. He can definitely tear you up if you don't account for that in your defense. Check out what he's done so far. Georgia, 200 yards passing and a touchdown. Mississippi State, 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. Versus Texas A&M, he had 239 yards, 3 TDs. Versus Tennessee, 215 yards, 3 TDs. Versus Auburn, 318 yards, 4 touchdowns. And against Ole Miss, 244 yards, 1 TD. That to me is a telltale sign that Florida fans should be worried. We all know how strong Felipe's arm is. He used to struggle to kind of read the field, but it doesn't seem to be the case this year. A lot of people look at Florida's schedule and they say, hey, there's nobody really left on this schedule other than LSU that could really beat Florida. That's completely false. I do agree that we tend to struggle against offensive powerhouses, and LSU has a great offense, so we should be worried about LSU, but in my opinion, we should be worried about Arkansas as well. They're kind of a balance, so we'll see how Florida does with that. They can throw the ball a little bit, they can run the ball, and they can play a little defense. They do a little bit of everything, so I am definitely not sleeping on Arkansas. This could be a long day. Also, right here, check this out. Franks has a 91-yard rushing performance against Texas A&M. So when you don't, like I said, when you don't account for him, he could kill you. That's definitely dangerous, definitely scary. So what concerns me the most there is that Franks' strengths play right into Florida's weaknesses. With our secondary, numerous occasions last week, Stetson Bennett failed to hit wide open, deep receivers beyond our secondary. They just simply had us beat, and that includes Marco Wilson. We have big time issues there. If they can do that again this week, or if our defense allows that to happen again this week, Franks can hit them. That's what I'm worried about. As well as his legs, Florida has always struggled against dual threat quarterbacks. Not to mention, Todd Grantham does not have a good track record at Florida when he plays veteran quarterbacks, and that's what Felipe is now. Every time Grantham plays a young freshman quarterback, we dominate the game. That showed again to be true against Georgia. So far this year, the one veteran quarterback we played against Texas A&M, they managed to beat us. We had a chance to win that game, but it didn't happen. We always struggle with veteran quarterbacks. They just don't get confused at what Grantham is throwing at them as easily as the young guys do. And also, Arkansas has a couple good receivers a couple good backs on the team, as well as a good receiver that always shows up in the stat column, Treylon Burks. He has about over 100 yards receiving every game. So my keys to the victory is you take Burks out of the equation so that Franks can't throw to him. That could swing things our way and allow Franks to have to make different decisions, look different ways. We know he struggled with that at Florida. He didn't scan the entire field all that great. So another key is we got to pressure Franks. If we get pressure on Franks, he won't have time to make those decisions. Also, if we don't get pressure on him, he can if nobody's open, he's just going to tuck it and run, and he's going to burn us that way. So those are the two biggest keys to the game. So my crystal ball prediction on this one is that the weather could play a big factor in this game, and also that the Florida defense gets knocked back down to reality just a little bit. But Florida edges them out 42-30. That's all for this week's preview, fellas. It should be a pretty good one. We'll see you after the post game. Go Gators. If you liked today's video, please remember to hit the like button down below, share, and subscribe for all the latest Gator news all year long. From recruiting to matchup previews, post-game highlights, and much more.